Hi, Nancy Showalter here, Law of Attraction Life Coach, and these are your magical minutes for an awesome week. I have a great story to tell you today. It's called This Is Good. And it begins with a young man who is groomed to be the king in his kingdom. And he wasn't quite the king yet, but he had a really good friend that they just did everything together. And this friend, however, was just a commoner. He was not anyone royal, but they were very good friends. And so one thing about his friend was always saying, no matter what happened, this is good. This is good. And the king actually admired his friend for this because he saw everything as good. No matter what was happening, he claimed it was good. So one day they were out hunting, and which they often did together. The king, some accident happened and he had his thumb ripped off his hand. And his friend just did what he always does. This is good. And the king was just irate. And he said, how can you say this is good? I mean, it was in such excruciating pain and the entire event. And he said to the guards, just take this man and put him in the dungeon. I don't want to see him. Put him in the furthest part of the dungeon. I never want to see him again. So that's what they did. They put the friend down in the dungeon. And so 1 year later, the king is out hunting again. And he kind of got away from his party and all his entourage that were guarding him. And he was captured by some natives that were cannibals in the jungle. So they put him at the stake. They were getting all ready to light the fire. And all of a sudden, one of them sees that he doesn't have a thumb. And they were very superstitious. So they said, oh no, we never will eat anybody who's not perfect and whole. So they untied him, they let him go, and the king was just amazed. And all of a sudden he realized his friend was right. He felt so bad. So he said, take me down to where my friend is. I have to apologize and let him out. So I said, I want to do this personally. So he went down to the darkest part of the dungeon. There's his friend tied up in this horribly wet, dark cell. And he said, oh, I am so sorry. He said that I put you here for a year. He said, this is just awful. And I just, oh, please forgive me. And the friend, as usual, says, this is good. And the king goes, how can you say this is good? You've been down here for a year suffering. And the friend said, well, because if I hadn't been down here, I would have been with you. So there's a couple of important points to this story. And one is there are big cycles in the universe. We don't always see the cause and effect and the cycle of why things are happening. And so this is the first lesson. And then the second thing that we can learn from this story is events happen. Little events that frustrate us and big major traumas in our life can happen. But no matter what, they happened. We can't change the fact that they happened, but we can change how we perceive these events. And when we call them good, this is good. What that means is this is okay. I'm okay. And everything's going to be okay. Because you can't change the event, but you can change the perception of the event. And you might say, well, gee, it's not good and I don't feel very good. But in reality, it is what we label it. It happened. It is what it is. We can't change that. So let's call it good. And then somehow we will draw good out of every situation, no matter how bad it may seem to us. So this takes us to that higher vibration of love, joy, and putting that energy into an event, whether it's big or small, no matter what it is in our life. So this week, think about this story. Think about the things that happen when someone pulls out in the middle of traffic and you want to go, what's going on with this guy? This is good. This is good. Catch your thoughts. Label things as good. Call them good. And then watch how they're transformed and you see good come out of it, no matter what it is. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. Until then, be happy, be healthy, be whole.